Hey everyone, welcome into the Arena Fantasy Series Discussion Portal. This is our first episode in our new series, and we're going to be talking about House of the Dragon. Obviously, House of the Dragon is dropping tomorrow on Sunday for all of you out there in the West. Out here in Asia, of course, we'll be getting it on Monday, of course, because of the time difference, but still, really looking forward to House of the Dragon starting up. This is our season one preview, so we're just going to be talking about the things we expect to see in this season. So, of course, I'm your host, Expat, along with my co-hosts, Burley of Burleman Gaming and Turn-Based Carl, of course, my co-hosts on most of our other shows. So thank you guys for coming on in, and we're really excited to start this series. And yeah, I'm excited to watch the first episode of House of the Dragon. It's been like almost a few years since Game of Thrones ended, and obviously there were a lot of people out there that didn't like how Game of Thrones ended, but that's a topic for another day. Obviously, now we're going to be going back in time about almost 200 years before the beginning of Game of Thrones. So the showrunners wanted to focus on House Targaryen and the Dance of Dragons, and we're going to be talking about that. But about 170 years, so to speak, before the start of Game of Thrones. So basically, about 100 years or so after Aegon Targaryen's conquest of Westeros. So, yeah, how excited are you guys for this? Carl, I'll start with you.
Well, I feel like I have almost no expectations for this show
Mhm.
uh, because, as much as I loved Game of Thrones in the beginning, it left me with a very sour taste at the end, to the point where I kind of just like checked out of the franchise completely, and I haven't really wanted to go back to it. Although my wife, at some point, right, was rewatching season one of Game of Thrones, and I caught some of
Mhm.
it. I'm like, man, the show was so good when it was, in its day. So, I'm looking at this as I'm going into it thinking like, all right, like this is, if they do a great job, I'll be all for it. And I'll be happy, and I will enjoy this series.
Yeah.
There's nothing, and it has no attachment anymore to any of the things that happened at the end of that show. So like, there's none of the characters are gonna be in this, with the exception of like maybe something reference could show up. So it's a clean slate. It's nice.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Of course, if you've read Fire and Blood, which is, of course, George R. R. Martin's book based on kind of like the history of the Targaryens, then I think you're going to enjoy this series. And I really like, from what we show in these video clips here, obviously, of course, you see how the Iron Throne looks, and it looks a lot different than it does, in a sense, from the Game of Thrones series. Obviously, you see all the other different swords that were basically melded into each other from Aegon's conquest, of course. But yeah, I mean the family political squabble. Obviously, this is another succession, dispute between the blacks and the greens, and we're going to see that. And it'll be interesting to see whether or not the Dance of Dragons, which, you know, everybody that's read the books, they know it's coming, but whether or not it's coming in season one at the end of season one, or they're going to start focusing on the battles in season two, it'll be interesting to see. But anyway, Burley, how excited are you for House of the Dragon?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how it'll go. Uh, like Carl, I love the first couple seasons, and then as the ending came, especially that last season,
Yeah.
that just sours the whole experience because you just kind of want to wipe that from your mind and be like, yeah, that never happened.
Yeah.
This I'm interested to see how they're gonna do it all. I don't think we're really going to get too much of the. I think it's the end of the season. It's going to be the setup for the big battles and stuff to come.
With the Dance of the Dragons and all. Yeah.
Against yeah,
So basically, the end of the Targaryen, the start of the end of the Targaryen dynasty, in a sense. I mean, because the Dance of Dragons, obviously, it's like a 3 year conflict from I think
hmm
129 AC to 131 AC, where you're going to start the dance with about 20 or so dragons, and then at the end of the conflict, there's only like 3 left. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, I'm really interested to see Matt Smith, playing Daemon Targaryen. I mean, and his creation of the gold cloaks, and just how wild he is going to be in this series. Yeah, there's going to be some really cool, scenes, and a lot of cool acting in this series as well. And it's going to do a lot of time jumping as well. So I think the very beginning of the series, we're going to see the kind of the meeting at Harrenhal to discuss secession. And then, of course, it will go on. You'll see uh, Rhaenyra Targaryen and Alicent Hightower as young teenagers, and then, of course, it will go on to them being adults and the secession dispute. So, which basically starts the Dance of the Dragons. So, yeah, really excited for it. Is there anything else you
Yeah.
guys want to say, Carl? Go ahead. Yeah.
As far as the like battles and stuff like that, I kind of hope we don't get too much of that, because as cool as that can be at times, I think that's where the other Game of Thrones show sort of kind of gets less interesting for me, because especially the last 2 seasons where
Mm-hmm.
it just kept feeling like we just want to do like big epic battle, big epic action sequences.
Yeah.
And that's not what the show was about. That's not what made the show so great. I mean, it was the dialogue, it was the intrigue, it was the characters.
Right. Right.
So I really wanted to focus on that, and then you can have your cool moments and stuff in between. But I want more personal engagements. Like that first season of Game of Thrones worked so well because you had a lot more like one-on-one duels, right? Like that felt really tense. Like Ned Stark fighting Jamie
Lannister.
right?
Yeah.
Like just such a. It's not that long, but it's just a lot of like depth to it, right? There's a lot of there's a lot of emotion behind it, and it just intenseness that you felt that you don't get as much when it's just like a ton of people just smashing into each other and everyone killing everyone. Right?
Yeah, I just want to point this out, here in the video image here, how how much attention to detail they're paying into this series. Of course, how the Iron Throne obviously is made of swords, and as you can see here, of course, the king putting his hand on the swords, and of course he cuts his hand because of the swords. They're actual swords.
Yeah.
So,
I see that.
yeah.
Cool.
So I mean, I really like the attention to detail they're paying in this series to things like the little things like that. So. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna get like the one-on-one type of duel, type of sequences throughout this season. Of course, the jousting competition, you're gonna see that as well. But yeah, I mean, just a lot that we don't really know about the Targaryens. We're gonna learn a lot about them. Of course, the scene there from Dragonstone, of course. You're going to get a lot of scenes of Dragonstone as well as King's Landing. And my final question to you is, what do you think about how the Game of Thrones had their really cool opening sequences, like you would see King's Landing, and then you would see like Winterfell and the Wall, or you would see like the Vale or something like that in the map at the beginning of the episodes. Do you think we're going to get something like that with House of the Dragon? Do you think we're still going to get like the map at the beginning of the show, and for example, see King's Landing the way it looked during this time, or say like Storm's End for the Baratheons or whatnot? What do you guys think? Do you think we're going to get the same type of intro that we did for Game of Thrones?
I kind of hope we do get something similar thematically, at least, because that always hyped me for the show.
Mm-hmm.
I think we will, because they were so known for that intro, and a lot of people really did like that intro. So they will. I would imagine they want to stick with something like that, just to keep people happy and really want to try and be like, remember, kind of like member berries. Be like, remember when this was good?
Yeah. You know, I do am curious, like how popular, how well this will be received, how many people are looking forward to it. But I had an interesting thing happen when I was speaking to my parents about. Actually, I was speaking to my parents in general and about some TV shows and stuff, and they actually brought this up. Like my stepfather was like, "Oh yeah, you excited for House of Dragons?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm interested. I'm gonna watch it." I was like, "But yeah, I'm like, you guys didn't actually watch Game of Thrones, did you?" Because they're like, "Oh no, we didn't finish it. We watched a little bit, but we never really watched all of Game of Thrones." It's like, wow. I'm like, "But you're excited for this?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, because like it's a new start. It's the beginning. Like I don't have to catch up to anything." I'm like, "Oh okay, that's interesting." So yeah, it could bring in a new audience and people just looking to start over.
Yeah, a whole different era. Like I was saying, it starts like 170 years before the start of Game of Thrones. So yeah, interesting for sure, and we're looking forward to bringing you our episode reactions and reviews to it. Of course, episode 1 drops tomorrow, Sunday, for all of you out in the West. For us out here in Asia, it drops on Monday, so we're looking forward to seeing it, and we will be, of course, bringing you, of course, our reactions as well. So if you liked this content, please be sure, if you're new to the channel as well, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe and notification bell for any content that we drop here in the future, and for any of our episodes of course, this new series, so the Arena Fantasy discussion portal series that we're doing here. So we want to thank you for all coming in, and we're looking forward to bringing you our episode 1 reactions and review. So until then, I've been your host, Expat, along with my co-hosts, Burley of Burleman Gaming and Turn-Based Carl. So take care, everyone. Peace out.